In this video, we'll show you how to back up a Linux system. Adding the source to backup is the third step in the overall installation process. As an overview, in our previous videos, we've installed the backup server and configured NAS to be our storage target. And in this video, we're executing step 3, which is adding the source we want to back up. After this video, as part of step 4, we will initiate a full backup, and then in step 5, we will run a restore. For this video, we're referencing the Linux instructions under the add source section of docs.zmanda.com, the link for which is in the description below. As you can see, the entire installation process for backing up your Linux system is broken down into two major steps. First, we install Zmanda client on the Linux system you want to back up. Second, we configure the Linux system as a source in the Zmanda Management Console, or ZMC for short, so that it has all the right details to back up. So, let's begin with the first step, which is installing the client on the Linux system. There are three main sub-steps, as you can see over here. First step is making sure that all prerequisites are set up. The second is downloading and installing the agent on the Linux system to backup. And third is linking the Linux system to the backup server. Now, as I'll be referencing the documentation throughout the process, let me create a split screen view and keep my documentation to the right. I have a console running, which is connected to the Linux system I want to back up. Since this is a Debian machine, I'll be running the Debian commands in the entire installation process. If you are running an RPM system, please follow the RPM instructions. The first step is to update your Debian machine. So let me copy the Debian commands. Next, let's ensure that our SLNX state is set to permissive. To identify the SLNX state, run get-enforce command. In my system, as you can see, I get a message to install SLNX indicating that SLNX is not active. If your system says SLNX is active, you can change it to the permissive state using the command listed right here. Now, we need a few ports to be opened, specifically 10,080, 10,081, and ports 800 to 840. So let's run the UFW command and allow all these ports on the TCP range. And with this, the port configurations are complete. Let me move to step 1.4, which is installing the Perl library on my machine. The output of this command tells me it's already installed, which means that all the prerequisites are present, and now we can move on to installing the Zmanda client on our Linux system. So for doing that, let's go to network.zmanda.com, click on Downloads, and then find the Linux system. Now, as I'm running on Ubuntu 22.04, let me select it from the drop-down, and when I do so, the links on the right have become active. Let me download the client. In my configuration, the machine in which I downloaded the file is different from the target machine I want to back up. So to upload the binary to my target machine, let me copy the CDN link of my downloaded file, head over to my target machine, and type curl -big O and paste the link. When the download is complete, it's going to appear in my home folder because I was currently in the home folder. And as you can see, it's right here. And as instructed, let's uncompress it using tar-xvf, and the two uncompressed files are visible right here. And they have to be installed in the same sequence: backup client first, followed by extensions client. Thus, let's run sudo apt install /amanda enterprise backup client. Yes. Now, given the backup client installation is done, let me repeat the same process for the extension client. That's sudo apt install /amanda enterprise extensions client. Yes. Both packages are installed, and now to validate the installation, you can follow the instructions in 2.8 and copy this command. And as I can see, Amanda Enterprise Backup Client and Amanda Enterprise Extensions Client are successfully installed. With this, we proceed to part 3, where we create a link between the agent we just installed and the backup server. Now, for this process, you need to have the IP address of your backup server handy. Let me copy the command from part 3 and enter the IP address of your backup server in the placeholder. And with this, we are done linking our Linux system to the backup server. Now, let's head over to the configuration stage of the process, where we configure ZMC to communicate with our Ubuntu machine. Thus, let me open my ZMC console. The first step here is to create a backup set, as sources are grouped by backup sets. Let me create a backup set by heading over to backup sets and then clicking on add backup set. Now I'll name it as production set right here. And as you can see, a few details are already populated, like the AE server, which is a local server, and the storage option I created in the previous step, which is production NAS. Let me click on save, and I can see the backup set is being created. We'll configure it in a later video. Now, let me head over to sources and click on add source. And over here, I select file system. And as I can see in the type, Linux file system is already pre-selected. Perfect. Now, most of the details can remain the same. I just need to enter a few details. So for the host name, which is the IP address of the Linux system I want to back up, 10.0.0.162, I'm entering the private IP address because they're in the same subnet, and the directory path is specifically which path within the Linux system I want to back up. I choose to back up the entire home folder, and if I scroll down in the backup sets, I will select the backup set I just created, which is production set. And with this, let me click on save and add the source. ZMC has accepted my configuration, and now to trigger a handshake with the Linux system, let me click on the host check, which are these blue circular arrows. It runs successfully and captures the details of our Linux system. And with this, your Linux system is now added as a source to be backed up. In the next videos, we're going to configure the backup set so that you can run your very first backup. Talk soon.